Hi, I'm Sandi Genovese, and today I'm going to turn ordinary wooden sticks, popsicle sticks or wooden tongue depressors, into really fun photo puzzles. If you look here, you can see that I have a couple of different examples. Now the one on the bottom is tongue depressors, and I've used it with a photo, and the one up above is popsicle sticks. They looked so much like a log cabin, I thought it would be fun to do the silhouette of Abraham Lincoln, which started as a die cut, which also would be kind of cool if you want to do something for President's Day. If you look at how this is created, notice I'm holding this up and they're not falling all around. That's because I'll go to the bottom one and I'll show you on the back. I have a little piece of magnet that is used on the back of each of the sticks, which just makes it so much easier. This makes it, if your kids want to play with this game in the car, it makes it a really fun car kind of a game. It will make it easier if they accidentally nudge it, they won't just go flying everywhere. So it just makes the art of putting the puzzle together, I think, a little bit more fun. First, however, we have to make it. So you want to start first with a photo. And I took a photo, a 4x6 photo, and I blew it up 115%. I enlarged it in just a photocopier. This is just on regular copy paper. The thin paper is going to be easier to attach and to cut back into little strips. Once I have it cut up, in order for it to fit onto my tongue depressors, it turns out that I needed to trim some off the bottom. Because if you'll see when I lay this down, you need to figure out for the size photo that you're using how many of the tongue depressors you need. So in order to accommodate the way that I've trimmed this photo down, I needed 9 tongue depressors. What I did was I took removable, just Scotch tape that was removable, and I used them to hold the tongue depressors in place in order to layer them up. I started with just a box lid, which allowed me to tuck all of these together in kind of a straight line. And then I taped one end. I taped at the edge because I want room to place the photo down where I can still get adhesive and not actually run into the tape. Notice, however, these are not really snugly packed together. The first time I did it, I smashed these guys really tight and thought it would make a better puzzle. Boy, was it difficult to cut those pieces apart later. Make it easier on yourself and give yourself a little gap. If you look inside, you can see greened through. Those little gaps are going to make it much easier to cut the puzzle pieces apart later. Once you have the tongue depressors taped down and you have the photocopy the right size to fit on those depressors, you just need adhesive. Now the adhesive that I used is called Podge, and it's kind of like a watered down or a diluted glue. Now I used the Podge, and while I'm talking about it, let me reference the other things that you're going to buy at the craft store. If you don't want to eat a lot of popsicles, you can buy bags of popsicle sticks, very inexpensive. This was $3 for 150. And you can buy the tongue depressors all in the same section, very inexpensive, and they'll make lots of puzzles. So the Mod Podge is what I used. And then what you're going to do is take the Mod Podge, you're going to paint it, just a very thin layer on the back of the photo, and you're going to go ahead, fasten it down. It takes 15 or 20 minutes. You're going to want to press, get it nice and flat, and after about 15 or 20 minutes, it will dry. I have one that I've already got stuck down, so you can see if I pull it up that it's already attached. And notice, there's a little tiny bit of gap on the back because that way I'm not trying to cut through the wood of the tongue depressor itself. If you want the back side to be sealed, you can go ahead and put Mod Podge on the back. I didn't actually care about the back, so I didn't do that. But before I seal the front, I need to cut it apart. If you're going to cut it, you want a really sharp new Exacto blade. So I'm going to use my Exacto knife with a sharp blade in there. And you know that you need to use this with a cutting mat. However, if you don't have a cutting mat, I was working where my cutting mat wasn't handy, so I just took a notepad and I was able to use this instead. It works so easily. You're going to turn this over and take the blade. If you haven't used an Exacto blade a whole lot before, it will work better instead of having it at this angle like this where you just have the tiny tip cutting. You want to angle it more like this so the whole blade can cut. So I'm going to just fasten my blade so that it's in that groove that I've left, and then I'm just going to press down right in the groove You can hear it cutting. I'll put this out of the way. This is the step that you know, it's fun to craft with your kids, but be sure you do that step yourself. So I end up then having that first one cut apart. You're going to go back and you're going to cut all of those apart. Once they're loose, then you go back with more of the Mod Podge and you're going to, I added a nice layer on the top of each one of these individual strips. After that dries, once again, it takes 15 or 20 minutes to dry, then you want to think about adding the magnet if you want the magnet on the back of yours. I went to Staples and I was able to get 50 magnets very inexpensively. They're this business card size. And all I did was take the business card size magnet, cut strips off. This is self-adhesive. So all I have to do, I think the hardest part is getting the adhesive to come free. So now it's sticky. And all I have to do is put this on the back of each of the puzzle pieces. And that will give you what you need in order to be able to create a really cool puzzle. If I bring it back up and show you, you can see that it's just slightly, I don't know if you can tell the shininess, but just from having been sealed with the Mod Podge on the front layer. And once again, the magnet that sits on the back of each of these individual strips. Now, I did the Abraham Lincoln just a little bit differently. I referenced, I'll bring this up and show you what I mean. Here is how I started. I started with a die cut that was the silhouette of Abraham Lincoln. That was, you know, was easy. So once you have the die cut of whatever shape that you choose, then I cut different layers of paper to embellish it. Well, once I left this loose so you can see, you would have his skin tone and then his hair and then his hat and his collar. You could end up with 5 or 6 layers of paper, which is going to be hard to cut through when you're trying to cut it back apart into pieces. So make it easy on yourself. Once again, put it into the copier, make a photocopy. It even picks up the texture of the paper, which is kind of cool. So it will still look like the layered paper shapes. Cut around this to give you the Abraham Lincoln shape, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to place him on the puzzle. However, you don't want to put it over the tape, so in this case I would flip it over, use this to hold it together. Let me see if I can, because it's removable tape, it will hold all of these together, but it will allow me to turn it over. Once again, take the Mod Podge, use it to place on the back, position him onto the popsicle sticks. After it's dry, you're going to cut it apart, and once again, you're going to follow all the same steps in order to create. And even, you know, no matter which one I pull up, there's the little magnet is also on the back of each of these popsicle sticks as well. You know, who knew that something as ordinary as popsicle sticks or wooden tongue depressors would so easily convert into these fabulous photo puzzles?